2023 Lexus RX 350 Hours Luxury AWD Review. This could be the sweet spot in the Lexus RX range. Unless you're after an exciting luxury SUV experience. The new generation Lexus RX range has been on sale for a while now. You've probably seen them around if you live in one of Australia's larger cities. In fact, you may have even seen some new Gen RX taxis. Those are invariably the RX 350 Hours Luxury spec, which is the variant we have on test. But, specifically, this review focuses on the all-wheel drive version with the optional enhancement pack. That bumps the price up from base model levels to damn near $100,000 before on-road costs, but I reckon this could still be the pick of the RX range. I'll tell you why below, and why I also reckon this might not be the ideal luxury SUV for those who fancy themselves to be a bit of a car enthusiast. How much does the Lexus RX 350 Hours Luxury AWD cost? There are 14 derivations of Lexus RX in this generation, and unlike the last one, none of them are 7-seaters. That seems excessive to me, and really, Lexus could have condensed the lineup to half that number and still arguably have met the needs of its customers. Take the Lexus RX 350 Hours, for instance. You can have it in front-wheel drive for $87,500, or you can make it all-wheel drive, like this one, which means a jump to $92,000. All prices exclude on-road costs. But then if you want a bunch of the good stuff this particular model comes with, you need to choose the enhancement pack, which you can have as a 2WD, $92,600, or AWD, $97,500. So that's 4 variants for one variant. Anyway, I think at $97,500 plus on-roads this grade is a great choice, and the details of what's included as standard for that amount of money are listed down below. What else can you get at this price? Well, a Genesis GV 82.5 TAWD admittedly, not hybrid, comes in at $97,200. Lots of presence and performance for the money, I reckon. And if you are sold on something Japanese, large, and maybe a bit more exciting, then the new top-spec Mazda CX-90 6-cylinder petrol G50 Izami at $95,185 may be a cool left-field choice, plus it offers 3 rows. The diesel-powered Volkswagen Touareg 170 TDI, from $89,240, could also offer some food for thought. It's a lovely rig. What is the Lexus RX 350 Hours Luxury AWD like on the inside? The interior of the new generation Lexus RX is certainly an improvement on the old model, but it doesn't perhaps have as much all-new feel to it as you might expect or hope for. Sure, there have been big upgrades to the multimedia screen and the materials are still of a very high perceived quality, but the design is a bit predictable. But perhaps that is exactly what a Lexus RX buyer wants. The screen is the big wow factor moment inside the cabin. It's a standard fit 14.0-inch touchscreen unit with wired/wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto and Sat-Nav. It encompasses the expected multimedia elements, but it also acts as the control center for the climate settings. There are 2 dials at the lower edges of the screen for dual-zone climate, and between them is a hard bar that remains on screen at all times when operating, and it houses most of the other climate functions, fan speed, recirculating air and so on. There are hard buttons below the screen for front and rear demisters, and a volume knob, too. The controls are okay in most situations, but the menus upon menus do take some learning. For instance, you don't go through the settings sound menu to adjust the bass, treble and fader. You do that by hitting the 3 dots icon on the play screen when you're listening to an audio source. And there are so many sub-menus, that you will need more than a week to get used to the interactions required with the screen. In fact, compared to some rivals, it feels a bit unfinished. The other screen in the cabin, in front of the driver, is far less impressive. If I'm not mistaken, The display used has been around for a decade or more, and it looks old compared to the big display for media stuff. It's low resolution and it's small by modern standards. In the enhancement pack models you also score a head-up display, which projects an array of color, but it looks monochromatic, info on the windscreen ahead of the driver. You will rely on this more than you might expect for cruise control settings and media controls, as the touch-sensitive buttons on the steering wheel are the controllers for such. Honestly, this setup is a bit of a concentration drain, and I found myself looking at the head-up display a lot during my week with the car as I tried to learn the controls. Not once did "this is so easy" cross my mind. The controls can be confusing and the buttons are easy to bump, too. The door handles are another element that offers some "ooh, why did they do it that way?" factor. They are electrically triggered push-button controls. They are an interesting component, but cause no end of confusion for the uninitiated. At least the doors are very pleasing in the way the trigger actuates the opening, and the solid thunk is nice, too. As for storage, the expected elements are there, with a pair of cup holders, including a clever height-adjustable bottom section, a wireless phone charging pad, storage nooks, a center console bin with a lid that can be opened towards or away from the driver, and big door pockets with bottle holders. All the requisite charging options are available, including USB-A, X1, and USB-C, X3, points for front seaters, while the back seat also gets a pair of USB-C ports. The rear is a pretty accommodating space, with directional air vents, bottle holders in the doors, a flip-down armrest with cup holders and a storage box, and map pockets on the seat backs. There is also a third climate zone for rear seat occupants in this spec. Adult occupant space is very good in the back seat of the RX. I had easily enough space to sit behind my own 182 cm/6'0" driving position. There's ample headroom, legroom, knee space and toe room, unless you have big feet and stretch your legs right out. There's also ample width to the second row, so 3 adults across the back is doable. Just note that the middle seat rider will have a bit less leg room thanks to the center console intrusion. And yes, I've seen quite a few new-gen RXs as taxis. I don't know whether I'd want to spend $100,000 of my money on the same car that taxi drivers are using, but it shows the practicality on offer. Parents will be happy to know there are outboard ISOFIX points and 3 top tether points as well. In the boot, there's a pretty good amount of space on offer, with Lexus quoting 612 liters of cargo capacity. The luxury grade doesn't get a spare wheel, however, it comes with a tire repair kit. The underfloor section houses that kit, plus an emergency triangle and some additional storage.